kind of silly to be running around Elwyn Forest as a level 1 Death Knight. So what does that mean exactly? Well, what we know is that the Death Knight is going to be a character class that has kind of 2 distinguishing elements as far as what makes it a hero. The first is that you're going to have to unlock the ability to play a Death Knight. I know a lot of you are thinking right now, oh god, gotta be a raider. That's not true. So what you're going to be able to do is at level 80, you're going to be able to do a quest chain, probably somewhere around the kind of feel of like the Warlock Epic Mount quest. So we expect pretty much any player that gets level 80 to be able to do this quest kind of over a reasonable period of time and unlock that character class, have some pretty cool, interesting story elements that sort of explain your interaction with Arthas and how it is that you're going to be able to unlock this character. And the second distinguishing element that I alluded to earlier was that you're not going to start off as a level 1 character as a Death Knight. Once you've unlocked it and you create the Death Knight character, you're going to start off at a relatively high level. We're not exactly sure at this point what level that's going to be. It might be somewhere around level 55, 60, 70. We're still kind of working that out at this point. But you aren't going to be starting off, as I mentioned earlier, at level 1. You're going to be pretty badass right from the get-go with a pretty solid set of starting spells and abilities, and you'll rip stuff up right from there.
Okay.
Look, forgot to click. So another way that we kind of use this mechanic is that what we know is that if we were to attempt to introduce all the different heroes from Warcraft 3 at the same time, we'd be looking at some potentially disastrous consequences as far as overall game impact and game balance. But what this particular mechanic allows us to do, where you unlock these hero classes, is allows anybody, regardless of what class they're currently playing, to play the hero class they want to play. And in addition, it gives us the flexibility to kind of continue to introduce these over time. So what it boils down to is your favorite Warcraft 3 heroes playable. So what I'd like to get into now is the Death Knight's resource system. So like I described earlier, they're not going to be using a rage bar. So they're not going to be using a mana bar or an energy bar. They have an entirely new resource system. And we call this the rune resource system. So all the Death Knight spells and abilities are cast using one of 3 different unique rune schools. We have blood runes. Ooh. Frost runes. Ah. And unholy. So all the different Blood Knight spells and abilities, Death Knight spells and abilities, sorry, are going to use these different runes in some combination or another. So what Death Knights do is they carve these runes into their weapon. They imbue their weapon, their rune blade, with these runes. So what you'll do as a player is you'll make a choice about exactly what kind of runes you want to use. Maybe you're going to be the guy that focuses on the blood rune abilities or the frost rune abilities, the unholy, or maybe you're going to distribute them pretty evenly. So here's the first example. What we have here is an example of the character portrait. You see the the character portrait, the level 80, yeah. The health bar, their rune bar right there. So we've got the rune blade, and in this particular example, this Death Knight's chosen to carve 2 frost runes, 2 unholy runes, and 2 blood runes into their blade. These runes, as you use them, your spells and abilities consume the runes, which means they kind of deactivate, and then they reactivate over time, sort of like on the timer. So it's almost like a combination of 3 different sorts of energy. Second resource example would be the guy that chooses to put 4 blood runes, 2 frost runes, and totally forego unholy runes. We actually expect for this to be an interesting sort of choice because we actually have plans for mechanics that allow you to, in a limited degree, on the fly, change one resource type into another. A sort of example would be like the Warlock's life cap ability, where they're able to convert health into mana. So we expect to try out some ways in which you might be able to do some sort of limited exchange on the fly so that you don't become totally pigeonholed by your earlier decision. That brings us to the third example. This is the Death Knight that I actually don't really want to see. The guy that's all unholy runes. The reason I say that is because If we see this too much, I've probably done something wrong, and your other abilities aren't very fun. So it is an example. It's just there to illustrate an example of how you do have a lot of customization potential over the way your character works. Hopefully you'll actually be encouraged to use a variety of different spells and abilities, and I think players will have fun picking and choosing between the different types of runes they're going to use and how many. So, as I mentioned earlier, these runes, they are on sort of like a cooldown. They cool up after you use them. And in addition, what we're going to be trying out at first is we're going to be trying out a couple different abilities that potentially allow you to activate your runes a little bit more quickly or exchange one rune for another, that sort of thing. So maybe you'll pick some talents that allows your blood runes to refresh a little bit more quickly, or maybe you'll get a spell or get a talent that is like a death strike or something like that that refreshes a blood rune anytime you use that strike, that sort of thing. So as I mentioned, certain spells may have the ability to activate runes. And in addition, certain spells may consume more than one rune at a time. So you may have certain spells that are really powerful, but they require you to have a certain different set of combination of rune talents. We do expect that as the spells and abilities require more runes, that those spells and abilities will be more powerful ones. Here are some more concepts. So we'll see you all in Northrend. And that'll bring us to our Q&A session. What we're going to do here is we've got a couple of moderators. We've got Micah, we've got Danielle right there with the microphones, waving their arms in the spotlight. And for any of you that would like to ask us questions related to the Wrath of the Lich King, feel free to get in line and ask away. We'll do our best to answer.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Hello.
Hi there.
My question is, since the level cap is raised to 80, is there going to be more work done towards increasing the leveling from 1 to 60 for any new characters that you're creating?
Yes, absolutely. We actually expect to do some of that before Wrath of the Lich King even comes out. We feel like right now, we really want to encourage players to roll alternate characters. We feel like the leveling process is a little bit slower than we want it to be. So we are actually planning on introducing some changes that will help speed up leveling from at least 1 to 60 and potentially even from 1 to 70. So hopefully that, combined with the fact that Death Knights start off at a higher level, will make it feel like it's very well paced.